Let's cross to the civil war in Sudan. For more than a year, Sudan has been engulfed in fighting between two rival armies, the regular armed forces and the paramilitary RSF. Those rapid support forces are currently trying to capture the last city outside their control in the western region of Darfur. Clashes are intensifying, and both the US and the UN are warning of another massacre if the RSF succeeds in taking Al-Fashir. The medical charity MSF says at least 16 people died there on Sunday, taking the total to 44 dead in Al-Fashir in just 3 days. The RSF is reported to have cut supply lines into the city, not allowing food, water and medicines in. Al-Fashir currently hosts hundreds of thousands of civilians who have already fled from other parts of Darfur. Well, for more on this, as well as the latest on the floods in Kenya, I'm joined now on the line from Nairobi by Arise Africa correspondent Mark Bichachi. Thank you very much indeed, Mark, for joining us. What is the latest that you're hearing about what's going on in Al-Fashir? We understand there was heavy shelling between the two sides over the weekend and lots of civilian casualties.
Yes, indeed, Charles, you're quite right. There was an conflict over the weekend where the RSF is trying to take over the city of Al-Fashir. We know full well that they have actually blocked out aid coming into to help these people. There's also a bomb that landed near a hospital, basically making it unusable. Now, out of there are 30 injuries that we have been counted so far. Many of them are not able to access medical care because the facility of the hospital facilities are overwhelmed within the city of Al-Fashir. And beyond that, there is also a report that has come out stating that is being used as a mode of war where entire villages are being set on fire to ensure that the people run away. And as they run away, this current attack on the city of Al-Fashir is basically being termed by many as a kill box, where the Masalit African descent tribes are being cornered to a place where people fear that the RSF will be able to massacre them. So this is a situation that could turn into a humanitarian crisis just by virtue of the lack of aid. Both food and non-food items have been stuck on transit because access has been blocked. But at the same time, we are probably staring at the next African genocide after the Rwandese genocide.
And it's important, I suppose, to keep in mind, Mark, that Al-Fashir currently hosts hundreds of thousands of civilians who have already fled from other parts of Darfur. So, as you said, the humanitarian strain is enormous, and there is a likelihood, isn't there, that they'll be displaced again if the RSF decides to storm the town.
In fact, Charles, the east side of Al-Fashir has seen people actually already displaced. There are about 800,000 estimated displaced people within the city of Al-Fashir. And already part of that city has seen people being displaced. So already the pressure of trying to resettle these people, give them aid, and at the same time, the shelling from the Sudanese army, which is known to use its air superiority to attack the RSF, has also damaged buildings around Al-Fashir. So essentially, the displacement has already happened. It is only a matter of time and whether the RSF will be able to the army. And when they do, then for sure it will be an issue. However, there is a bit of some good news in terms of the kind of atrocities we're seeing in Darfur. One of the key founding members of the Janjaweed militia has decided to support the RSF, and many are estimating that this will divide the Arab militia within Darfur, and if they're divided, then there could be some hope for the Masalit tribe to survive this yet.
And just broadly speaking, Mark, this war between Sudan's army and the RSF has seen thousands killed, millions displaced, but the violence is not abating. How does this conflict now move forward in your assessment? Is the only way forward to force the two sides to go to the negotiating table? Because I've heard it said that neither of the warring sides is going to be able to secure a full military victory.
Well, it seems quite honestly that the two sides are at a stalemate where they have almost divided the country in half and they are unable to make progress either. The army controlling much of the east of Sudan and the RSF being able to contain the west, apart from, of course, the city of Al-Fashir. Now, this particular conflict has two problems. That number one, both generals have been described by negotiators as belligerent. They are convinced that they can win the battle over the other. They are ready to take as long as is necessary to get their perceived victory. Therefore, this is a situation where unless there is an external force that forces these two generals to the negotiation table, the conflict is likely to continue. Let us also remember, Charles, that many of these people who have been displaced and killed have not changed the minds of these generals either way in terms of being able to come back to the negotiating table. In fact, there is accusation that certain countries, being prominently mentioned, is supporting the RSF, while other countries, including Egypt, are being accused of supporting the army. So we can also see the countries that are supposed to be negotiating for peace choosing sides and then being able to arm these particular military groups. So it is a difficult situation. There's going to have to be some international pressure to get these two generals to talk, because the atrocities and the war is not going to stop until they are pressured to do so.
Indeed. Mark, let's turn briefly to Kenya, where you are, where there have been those terrible flash floods in the last few weeks. I understand the schools have reopened today in the worst affected areas, so the hope must be that the worst is over.
Well, the hope is that the weather, as it has improved over the last week and so, will continue to do so. Of course, we are still within the La Nina scenario where we expect the weather to be a bit arbitrary and unpredictable. But so far, so good. Many schools have reopened. A few have not opened because of the damage that has been experienced in those schools. Some of them have lost units of their ablution blocks. Others have lost units of their classroom. You can imagine, have debris from the flooding that is still within the compound and in the classroom. So it is a good day for the Kenyan government, in the sense that many schools were indeed able to open, but still a few were unable to open because of the condition that they are still in and the ruins of the floods that have passed through the compounds and the classrooms. But in general, the weather is getting better. The meteorological department predicts that it will continue to get better. But we do not know. This is just the beginning of the long rains. We could be back here at another flash flood in about 2 months' time, when the long rains are expected to start.
Well, hopefully it won't go from bad to worse. Mark, thank you very much indeed. Mark Bichachi is a Rise Africa correspondent. He was talking to me there on the line from Nairobi.